Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to be giving you a basic introduction to trigonometric functions, in addition to their cofunctions and their inverse functions. So what is a trigonometric function, first and foremost? Well, what a trigonometric function does is, say you have a right triangle and you define an angle within that right triangle. The trigonometric functions are going to give you ratios of the sides of the right triangle relative to that angle. And it would be best to probably just show you this on the paper. So let's just create a right triangle, any arbitrary right triangle. Let's define this angle as a variable, theta. So this is just any angle. And if you were to take the sine of this angle, sine being the first of the trigonometric functions. Hold on, I should define the sides of the triangle first. Let's call this side O for opposite, since it's opposite this angle. Let's call this A for adjacent, since it's adjacent to the angle. And let's call this side H for hypotenuse. So the sine of angle theta is going to be the ratio of the opposite side to the hypotenuse. The next trigonometric function is going to be cosine, which is abbreviated as cos, of theta is equal to the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. And the last trigonometric ratio is the tangent function, abbreviated as such. And the tangent of theta is going to give you the ratio of the opposite side over the adjacent side. And these ratios are going to be really insightful when dealing with many calculus and trigonometry problems, as they're going to oftentimes help you solve for missing angles and missing sides of right triangles. And in later videos I'm going to be using the unit circle to generalize the definitions of these functions. But moving on, each one of these functions has what's called a cofunction. And the cofunction is, all it is just the reciprocal of this function. So sine has the cofunction cosecant, abbreviated as CSC. And it is equal to, since it's just the reciprocal, the hypotenuse divided by the opposite side. Or in other words, 1 over the sine of a particular angle. And this goes both ways as well. The sine is also equal to 1 over the cosecant of a particular angle. And this principle holds true for all the other cofunctions as well. So the cofunction of cosine then being secant, abbreviated as such. And that's equal to, as you could probably guess, hypotenuse over adjacent, or 1 over cosine theta. And finally, the cofunction for the tan function is cotangent. And it is equal to adjacent over opposite, or 1 over tangent. I don't know what happened there. But there you have it. There are all the trigonometric functions that exist, as well as their cofunctions. But in addition to these, you also have what are called inverse functions. And so what those are is, say you take the sine of a particular angle, or just any of the trigonometric functions. But I'm just going to use sine as an example. If you take the sine of this angle, it'll give you this ratio as a result. What the inverse function does is it'll take a ratio of sides in this right triangle, and it'll give back an angle. So say you're to put angle theta into this sine function and get a ratio. If you're to put that ratio into the inverse sine function, you'll get this same angle back in return. it simply inverts the trigonometric function in question. So I'm going to go to a new sheet, and I'm going to write all them out for you. So the notation that we use for inverse trigonometric functions is, I'm going to start with sine, since that's what we started with on the other page. You can abbreviate them as either using this -1 sort of power here, or you can also use the prefix arc in front of the trigonometric function. I prefer this notation personally because it avoids confusion with the cofunctions, and it's just easier to say arc sine, for instance, instead of the inverse of sine. And so I'm going to go ahead and write all of these functions out, just for the sake of having them all there for your review. And remember, all these functions do is invert whatever ratio you put in terms of an angle relative to the trigonometric function involved. So if you put an angle through cosine theta, you get a ratio out. You put that ratio into arc cosine, you get the angle back out. Though I'm just being repetitive at this point. So I'm probably going to speed up this part of the video because this is going to take me a while. So there you have it. Those are the inverses of all the trig functions. And in a later video, I'm going to be going over some example problems and some applications of these trig functions and their inverses. But for now, I just wanted to introduce the concept of it all. And anyways, that's going to be all. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.